The kitchen light always flickered before it settled into its soft golden glow. I liked that tiny hum, that moment before the day began. The kettle was just starting to whistle, and the radio played an old Sinatra song I'd heard 1,000 times. My mornings were sacred, quiet, simple, predictable. I reached for my favorite mug, the one with the tiny chip on the rim that Henry always said gave it character. For a moment I almost smiled. Then I heard footsteps, fast, impatient ones. "Why are you up so early again?" Lena's voice cut through the calm like a blade. I turned, startled. She stood at the kitchen doorway in her silk robe, arms crossed, eyes sharp even at 6 in the morning. "I couldn't sleep," I said softly. "Thought I'd make some coffee." She walked in, her perfume filling the room. "You could at least be quiet." "David's still sleeping." I looked at her, trying to keep my tone even. "I always make coffee at this time. I've done this for years." "Yeah, well," she snapped, opening the fridge as if it belonged to her. "Things change." I blinked. "Change? What do you mean by that?" She turned, holding the milk carton like a weapon. "It means this isn't just your kitchen anymore. We live here now, remember? You can't just do whatever you want whenever you feel like it." I stared at her, not sure I'd heard right. "I can't make coffee in my own house?" "It's not about coffee," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's about respect." Respect, the word stung. I took a breath, trying to calm my trembling hands. "Lena, I opened this house to you and David because you needed help. I didn't think I was surrendering my freedom." She smirked. "Freedom? Oh, please, no one's taking your freedom. You just need to learn to adjust." Her tone was syrupy sweet, but there was steel beneath it. She set the milk down, grabbed a glass, and poured herself a drink. "David said we'd all make it work," I reminded her. "That's all I'm trying to do." She leaned against the counter, her smile tightening. "Then start by not waking us up with your old radio every morning." "It's annoying." I turned to the small radio by the window, Henry's old one, the one he used to hum along with while reading the newspaper. I'd never thought the soft crackle of music could bother anyone. "I'll turn it down," I said. "But I won't stop listening to it." Her eyes narrowed. "You'll do what's best for everyone. Not just you." Something inside me wanted to snap back, to say this was my house, my routine, my life. But before I could, David walked in, hair messy, still half asleep. "Morning," he mumbled, heading for the coffee pot. Lena's voice turned sugary. "Honey, I told your mom she needs to keep the radio lower in the mornings. It woke you up again." David rubbed his eyes. "It's fine, Lena. It's just noise." "Noise?" she said, feigning offense. "You said it bothered you last night." He hesitated. "Yeah, but—" She cut him off with a look. "You need your rest. You've been working long hours. She should understand that." He sighed, turning to me. "Mom, maybe just keep it down, okay?" "No big deal." "No big deal." I felt my throat tighten. "Of course," I whispered. "No big deal." Lena turned away, satisfied, and started making herself breakfast. David poured his coffee, clearly uncomfortable. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, forcing a smile. "Just tired." He looked like he wanted to say something else, but didn't. Instead, he sipped his coffee and looked out the window. I glanced at him, my son, the boy who used to sneak into the kitchen as a teenager for midnight snacks, laughing when I caught him. That same boy now stood beside a woman who spoke for him. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "You two have plans today?" "Yeah," Lena said before David could answer. "We're meeting some friends. You'll manage on your own, right?" "Of course," I said softly. She smiled, but it wasn't kind. "Good. I'd hate to think you need supervision." David glanced at her, uncomfortable, but again, silence. He said nothing. After they left, the kitchen felt colder. The smell of coffee lingered, but it didn't comfort me anymore. I turned off the radio, even though I hated the silence that followed. I sat down at the table, staring at the chipped mug in my hand. For a moment, I thought of Henry, how he used to make breakfast for me on weekends, humming off-key, laughing at the burnt toast. He used to say this house had a soul. Now it just felt like walls. I told myself Lena was just tired, that new living arrangements took time, but deep down something darker was settling in my stomach. Later that afternoon, I was folding laundry in the living room when I heard the front door open. Their laughter filled the hallway, carefree, bright, unbothered. "Did you tell her?" Lena asked as she kicked off her heels. David hesitated. "Tell her what?" "You know, about the new arrangement, about using the master bedroom." My heart stopped. "What?" David whispered. She lowered her voice, but I still caught it. You said she doesn't use it much. It's wasted space. Lena. His voice sounded strained. That's my parents' room. So, your dad's gone. She can sleep in the guest room. It's smaller, easier for her to clean. I froze in the hallway, clutching the folded towel to my chest. David sighed. Let's just talk about it later. Fine, she said, irritation creeping in. But don't wait too long. We need to start setting boundaries. If you won't, I will. I stepped back quietly before they saw me. My legs felt weak. Boundaries. That's what she called it. I went to the kitchen to steady myself. The coffee mug from the morning still sat in the sink. I washed it slowly, trying to calm my shaking hands. How had my home become this? How had I allowed it? When David came into the kitchen a few minutes later, I forced a smile. Have a good time? He nodded, clearly distracted. Yeah, it was fine. You okay, Mom? You look pale. I'm fine, I said, keeping my voice even. Just tired, I suppose. Lena walked in behind him, setting down shopping bags. We bought a few things for the house, she said cheerfully. New curtains, some throw pillows, that sort of thing. I tried to keep my tone light. Oh, what was wrong with the old ones? They're outdated, she said simply. It's time this place felt fresher. I almost laughed. Fresher, I repeated quietly. David frowned, sensing the tension. Let's not argue about curtains, okay? I'm not arguing, I said softly. Just wondering when I stopped having a say in my own home. Lena looked right at me, unflinching. When we moved in, I guess. David stepped between us. Lena, no, she said firmly. I'm tired of tiptoeing around her feelings. We're all adults here. We share this space. If she can't handle that, maybe she should... Enough, David interrupted, his voice sharper now. That's enough. For the first time, she looked surprised. He turned to me, guilt in his eyes. Mom, I'll talk to her, okay? Just don't make things harder. I stared at him, speechless. Don't make things harder? He sighed. You know what I mean. No, I don't, I said, my voice breaking. I don't understand any of this. He rubbed his forehead. Mom, please. I'm just trying to keep the peace. I nodded slowly. I see. Peace. He left the room, muttering something I couldn't hear. Lena lingered for a moment, watching me with that same calm, confident stare. You really shouldn't take everything so personally, she said softly. It's not good for your health. I didn't answer. She smiled faintly, then walked out. I stood there for a long time after she was gone, the ticking clock filling the silence. I thought about Henry again, about the promise he made me when we first moved here, that this would always be my safe place. Now even the walls seemed to listen, cold and silent, as if they knew the truth before I did. That morning had started like every other, but it ended with a crack, small but deep. And though I didn't know it then, it was only the beginning. The curtains were still half closed, and the kitchen smelled faintly of lemon cleaner when she began rearranging my plates like they were a puzzle she owned now. I was folding a towel at the table when she walked in with 2 grocery bags and a look that said she'd already planned my life for the week. You moved my bowls, I said, keeping my voice calm. You had them piled dangerously, she replied, placing a new stack in perfect order. They were awkward. This is better. It's the bowl Henry used every Sunday, I said. It's old. It's rusty, she said flatly. We don't need rusty things. We need a clean look. She said it like a fact, like dust or dullness. I tried to laugh, but it stuck in my throat. Lena, we talked about this. You're welcome here, but what? She cut in, clicking her tongue. You know David and I are sharing the bills now. It's easier if the house is efficient. I made a list. She held up a slim notepad like a trophy. We didn't agree to lists, I said, heat rising. We kind of did, she answered, flipping the pad to show neat bullet points. Kitchen times, bathroom windows, laundry day. It's for everyone's good. I've lived here 40 years, I said. Henry and I, that was then, she said, shrugging. This is now. We have jobs, schedules. You can't keep doing things the same way. David came in from the garage, wiping his hands on a towel. Morning, he said. His voice was quiet, like he knew he should be gentle. You're home early, she said, softening. Good. You'll see how sensible this is. We'll talk about it tonight? He offered, looking between us. We talked, she said. This isn't up for debate. I told myself he was being practical. I told myself he loved me. But his eyes were down, and his shoulders had the tired curve of a man who'd stopped arguing. Later that afternoon, Ruth brought over lemon bars and a concern that smelled like old friendship. "Are you all right?" she asked, setting the plate on my counter. "I'm fine," I said, folding my hands. "Just tired." "You don't sound fine," she said, sitting. "You've been quieter. That new woman, she's something." "She's helpful," I said, and the word felt like a wardrobe I didn't fit into. Ruth reached for my hand. "Listen, remember when Henry fixed the porch after the storm? You didn't have to explain then. You had people on your side." "I know," I whispered. "I remember, but now, I don't know where the line is." "She's moving pieces," Ruth said. "Tiny things. People don't notice until the picture's changed." That night, I overheard Carlos on his porch, voice low through the thin siding. "She's rearranged the whole kitchen," he told his neighbor. "Made a schedule for the microwave." "Schedules?" The neighbor laughed. "For a microwave? That's new." "Yeah," Carlos said more softly. "The son seems, I don't know, he lets her." I pressed my forehead to the cool window and watched the street light buzz. The sound of the house felt different now, as if it had taken a shallow breath and decided to hold it. "You asked for help," Lena said later when she saw me pause with a dish in my hand. "You said you wanted company. Don't be ungrateful." "I didn't ask to be managed," I replied. "I asked for a roof." She tilted her head. "They're the same thing in a way. We're helping stabilize things. David's hours are weird. He needs structure." "So control is help?" "No, structure is help." She kept saying the words like a mantra. Structure, help, order. They fell over the room like a smothering blanket. "You can't tell me when to use my own bathroom," I said, a little louder than I meant. "You could be considerate," she answered, rolling her eyes. "Shower before 7 or after 9. That's not cruel." "It's my routine," I said. "For years." "You'll adapt," she said. "You'll be fine." He watched, silent. He always watched. At the grocery, she replaced my brand of tea with an expensive organic box and left my favorite jam tucked back in a corner. When I asked her about it, she laughed as if my preferences were quaint. "It's better for your sugar," she said. "I'm trying to look out for you." The edges of my world kept getting softened until I couldn't tell where my choices ended and hers began. Simple acts, a towel swapped, a magazine removed, started to feel like knots tightening. One morning, I found a small calendar taped to the inside of the pantry door. Kitchen schedule read in tidy handwriting. Times were divided, hers in bold, mine in pencil. I walked away shaking because it was ridiculous and because it felt like a funeral announcement for a life I'd lived. "Don't be dramatic," David told me when I mentioned it. "It's just so we don't clash. She's trying to help us coexist." "She's trying to erase me," I whispered. "You're not erased," he replied, but he said it like someone repeating a line he'd rehearsed. Lena's voice would float into the hall like a radio program I hadn't signed up for. "Estelle, try to be quiet in the mornings," she'd say, or, "Estelle, please ask before using the washing machine." Her tone was clipped politeness, a public service announcement. "You sound like an instruction manual," I told her once. "An organized life is a happier life," she said. "You'll see." I went to bed counting small humiliations like stitches. Each one tightened the fabric. Each one told me I was supposed to fold smaller. When I called Ruth, I could barely keep my voice steady. "She moved my chair," I said, and the absurdity of the thing made me sound foolish. "Your chair?" Ruth chuckled, but then went quiet. "That's not just a chair, love. That's your chair." "She says it's ugly," I said. "Says it doesn't match the couch." "She doesn't get it," Ruth said. "She's not trying to make things better. She's trying to own it." "You sound like a conspiracy theorist," I muttered, and then I laughed because I didn't want to be the old woman who worried about furniture. At dinner one night, Lena announced a guest list and a seating plan as if she were hosting a formal event rather than a house. She put name tags on napkins and assigned my seat at the end of the table. "This way we'll all be comfortable," she said, folding a napkin like origami. "Why is there a name tag?" I asked, feeling myself shrink at the sight. "Organization," she said, smiling. "It's welcoming." David didn't argue. He circled through the doorway like someone who knew where to stand and how to behave. After they left for the evening, I picked at the napkin with my fingernail and felt something in my chest both cold and hot. I started keeping a small notebook in my bedside table, writing the time and what had disappeared or been moved. At first I thought it was silly. Who keeps a list of their own life? But the list gave me a way to keep track of myself. I found myself apologizing when I spoke up, smoothing rough edges of my words so they wouldn't sting. They treated my apologies like currency. One afternoon, while looking for a recipe, I felt a paper slick against the back of a book. I pulled it free. An official-looking form, neat type, legal language. My name was there. David's name was there too, with a signature line filled in. I held the paper and felt my stomach drop. It looked like something that could change who controlled what, a kind of quiet theft written in legal ink. "David," I called, my voice small. He came into the kitchen, wiping his hands like he'd been doing all day. "Yeah? Did you sign anything about the house? About arrangements?" He froze a fraction longer than I expected. "What are you holding?" he asked. "This," I said, unfolding the paper. His eyes skimmed it. For a second he looked at Lena and then back at me. "It's nothing," he said too quickly. "It has our names," I said. "It says something about custody, of the property. It's official language. Why would you sign this?" He ran a hand through his hair. "She had some lawyer stuff. It's supposed to protect things if something happens." "Protect who?" I asked. "From what?" "From complications," he said. "From messy inheritance issues." She said it was standard. "It's signed," I said. "In your hand. Why would you sign without telling me?" His jaw worked. I didn't think it would be a problem. It was just paperwork. She said it would make things easier when we apply for loans, for the bank. "You don't sign papers about my house without telling me," I said. My voice shook. "You don't—" She was calm, he said. "She said it would simplify things." "Mom, I thought it was sensible." "You thought giving away my rights was sensible?" I asked, and the words tasted like metal. He looked away. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to cause trouble." "You've already done that." He opened his mouth, closed it. He seemed small, a child who'd broken a vase and didn't know how to fix it. He looked like he wanted to reach for me, to say the thing that would make it right, but he didn't. "We need to talk to a lawyer," I said finally. "We need to understand exactly what this is." "That sounds dramatic," he murmured. "Can't we just sort it out at home?" I laughed, not meaning to. "At home you signed my rights away. At home is where it happened." He sat down heavily at the kitchen table and put his head in his hands. For the first time I saw him as someone squeezed between two pressures, the woman he'd chosen and the son I raised. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear I didn't understand what I was signing." "Did you read it?" I asked. "No," he admitted. "And you signed?" "Yes." The silence that followed was full and loud. It was the kind of silence that changes things. Ruth's words came back to me. Tiny moves, picture changed. I thought about the list on my bedside table and the napkin with a name tag. I thought about bowls and towels and a calendar taped inside my pantry. I folded the paper carefully and put it back where I found it. My hands were steady now, but inside something had shifted. The house had not only grown new rules, it had grown teeth. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote the first line in a new notebook. What was taken today? The list began with bowls, towels, a radio turned down, and a signature I hadn't given. The next morning, I would need to find out exactly what that signature meant. "You signed what?" I asked, holding the paper out like it might burn me. "It's just some forms," David said, voice small. She said they were routine. "She said," I repeated, tasting the phrase. "She said." "You don't need to get upset, Mom. You don't need to sign things about my house." "I didn't know." "You didn't read it?" I skimmed. "You skimmed?" He rubbed his forehead, the way he used to when he was a kid and had scraped his knee. "Look, Lena said it would make banking easier." The lawyer said, "Which lawyer?" I asked. She gave me a card. It was fine. "You gave away my rights because a woman gave you a business card?" She said it was protection. "For us." "For us," I echoed. The words felt slippery. "You're shouting," he said, more to himself than to me. "I'm trying to help. I don't need help that removes me." "You sound ungrateful." "That's not—" I stopped because the kitchen light felt too bright, and the paper in my hands looked like a stranger's script. My name was on it, his name, typed legalese, a line where a signature had slanted in his own hand. "Mom, calm down," he said, softer. "Let's just look into it. I can call the office." "Call whose office?" "The lawyer on the card." "And if the lawyer is hers?" He said it was independent. "You didn't ask me?" You didn't tell me. For what? From me dying? From the bank? From what? He didn't answer. He kept looking at the table like the wood might give him answers. I felt something cold move through me, a realization that this paper could change how I existed, not just in the house, but on paper, in court, in proposals, in wills. I need to talk to someone, I said, steadier than I felt. A person who actually knows about legal things. You've got Ruth, he offered. She's been great. Ruth is kind, I said. But she's not a paralegal. She knows people. She's not the person I need right now. Who then? I met a woman down at the council last month. Paula. She works at the legal aid desk sometimes. You called her? I haven't yet. You will. He nodded finally. I'll wait while you call. The house felt thinner then, like a room whose walls had been measured and marked by someone else. I dialed Paula's number with fingers that remembered Henry holding my hand. She picked up on the second ring. Paula? I said, and my voice wasn't as steady as I wanted. Yes, this is Paula. How can I help? I found a document. Is it signed? Yes. Do you have it with you? I do. Bring it in and I'll take a look. No charge for the first consultation. Thank you. I'll be here this afternoon. When I hung up, David was watching the way I folded the paper. She'll tell us what it is, he said. Maybe it's nothing. It won't be nothing, I said. It already did something. He didn't argue. He looked shaded, like someone whose confidence had been used up. I called Ruth next and asked if she could watch my things for a bit. She arrived within an hour with a thermos of tea and the same fierce tenderness she'd shown at Henry's funeral. You look pale, she said, handing me a cup. Show me. I slid the paper across the table. She read it once, twice. Her face did not twitch. Weird, she said finally. This looks official. Official enough to trick someone, I said. It has my name. David's name. Does it say what? It's about property rights. Power of attorney. It gives control to a spouse if something happens. Ruth's hand found mine. We need a copy. You mean photograph it? Yes, don't move it. I'll fetch my niece, Nora. She knows how to make clean copies with her phone. She can help? She's studious. She volunteers at the library. She'll be careful. When Nora arrived, she wore glasses that slipped down her nose and a face that looked earnest. She handled the paper like an archaeologist. She took photos, close and clear, then stepped back. It could be a forgery, she said. The signature looks off. But I'm not an expert. How could someone forge a signature? Who would do that? People do strange things when they see advantage, Ruth said quietly. It doesn't have to make sense. I felt hot then, a slow ache of anger pooling behind my sternum. The house had become a place where strange things happened, where small invasions added up to a pattern, where a signature could be planted like a seed. Have you any proof of payments? Paula asked when she arrived. She had a folder and a voice that cut directly to facts. Check bank statements, check canceled checks, anything that shows money moving. I don't have much, I said. I live on my pension. That's it. Do you have copies of documents in the house? Any letters, bills? Yes, in a box. Bring them. The key is to build a paper trail. She told me it was for loans, David mumbled. To make mortgage things easier. For loans? Paula repeated, incredulous. Who took loans? Who would take loans on a house they don't own? Nobody, I said. That's the point. Paula sat at my table with the document, flipping through phone photos Nora had made. This could be bad, she said. If it's forged, it's fraud. We'll need to trace who provided the forms, who represented the signatory, whether the notary is legitimate. These are technical steps, but they exist. How much will that cost? I asked, mouth dry. Depends, she said. Legal work can be expensive, but there are options. Legal aid, pro bono work. Sometimes the county will help with elder abuse cases. Elder abuse? The words landed heavier than I expected. Yes, Paula said. If someone coerced you or misled you into signing, that's coercion. If someone falsified your signature, that's forgery. A chill ran through me. I had thought of Lena as controlling, petty, intrusive. I had not thought of her as someone who could make a paper carve me out of my life. Do you think she would? David started, then stopped. She might, Paula said. People can surprise you. You don't seem surprised. Ruth snapped the word like a thread. Don't minimize this. Paula looked at her. I've seen similar cases. Small manipulations become legal maneuvers. We have to act carefully. I felt a wash of shame then, for not seeing sooner, for trusting, for assuming family meant safety. I wanted to shake David and Lena both. I wanted Henry back. I wanted a return to the way things were, when a paper was just a paper and not a weapon. "What do we do first?" David asked, finally present. "Do we call the lawyer on the card?" "No," Paula said firmly. "We document. We copy everything. We get bank statements. We check the notary. We record dates. We make a list of every change in the house, who moved what, when, receipts for purchases. If this goes to court, you need a timeline." "A timeline," I repeated. The word felt practical and steady, like a ladder. "We also need witnesses," she added. "Neighbors, people who saw changes, anyone who can say when towels disappeared or when bills were paid." "I can speak," Ruth said. "Carlos can too. I'll call him." "You need to write it all down," Paula said. "Every detail, even if it seems small." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a new notebook and a pen that left thick black marks. I wrote the date at the top and then the first entry, paper found behind cookbook. "Signature looks like David's, possible forgery." I listed the bowls, the towel switch, the calendar in pantry. The list grew long, ridiculous, and true. "This is you getting control back," Ruth said, as she helped me tape copies into an envelope. "This is you making the mess into evidence." "It feels like betrayal," I whispered. "It feels like I've been replaced." "You haven't," she said. "You're documenting. That matters." Nora took more photos the next day, steady hands, steady face. David brought bank statements he hadn't thought to keep in one place. Paula made a list of people to call. My small notebook filled with factual notes and moments that once felt private now became proof. I understood then that this wasn't just about towels or bowls. It was a slow erasure, made legal if unchallenged. The stakes had teeth now. Paper could take what my hands had built. I closed the notebook and felt a measure of clarity. I would keep writing. I would collect evidence. I would put the small cruelties, the shifts, the signatures down in ink so they could be seen. The house hummed above us, unaware. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked twice and then was quiet. Inside, a lamp cast a pool of light over my notes. I folded the forged paper back into the book where I'd found it, but not before photographing it again. If they'd tried to make me disappear with a pen, I would meet them with paper and witnesses. The shoebox fit under the bed like a secret. I shoved it in, heart hammering, and closed the lid before the floorboard creaked. "Are you sure you don't want to keep more things here?" Ruth asked, setting a cup of tea on the nightstand. "I'm sure," I said, tucking a yellowed postcard into the box. "Just the small things. Henry's letters, the locket, Marcus's first drawing." "You're doing the right thing," she said. "Keep what matters." "I feel ridiculous," I admitted. "Like I'm hiding from my own life." "You're not hiding," she said firmly. "You're protecting memories." The house felt different when I left the bedroom door open a crack and went downstairs. The living room had the new gray throw Lena liked, the television too large for the space, and a neat stack of glossy magazines beside it. Everything looked staged, like a room in a catalog. "Morning," David said from the kitchen, looking at his phone. He didn't meet my eyes. "Morning," I answered, putting the tea kettle on. "You okay?" he asked finally. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." "You should rest." He sounded rehearsed, as if he'd practiced the phrase in front of a mirror. "Thanks," I said, forcing a smile. "That's kind." Lena appeared then, carrying a shopping bag. "I picked up your favorite tea," she announced, dropping the box on the counter like a prize. "Found it at that health shop." "You bought that with my money," I said before I realized I'd spoken. The words fell out hard. "Oh, Estelle," she said, with the sort of pity that got under my skin. "We all chip in now. It's only fair." "It's my pension," I said. I spread it out carefully. "We're managing costs," she answered. "We just ask you to be mindful." Mindful. Another small rule, another rope around me. Later, when I ran errands, Sam at the corner gas station noticed me fiddling with the shoebox tucked into my bag. "You look like you're carrying secrets," he said, leaning on the counter. He had a friendly, plain manner, the kind of man who noticed faces. "I suppose I am," I said, surprised at how honest I felt. "You okay?" he asked, shifting the register closed. "I'm dealing with some family things," I said slowly. "I might need a little work." "You mean a job?" Yes, a few extra hours would help. He smiled in a way that felt real. We could use someone to tidy up mornings. Short shifts. If you want, come by Monday and we'll see. Back at home, I started keeping a careful record. I bought a new notebook and dated the first page. Small changes log. I wrote the time Lena moved the radio, the date she replaced my tea, the week the bathroom towels disappeared. Each line steadied me. Writing made the world less slippery. Why don't you just talk to her? Ruth asked over tea. Tell her you miss your things. I tried, I said. She calls it organization. She smiles and tells me to be grateful. David shrugs. He's scared, Ruth said. He doesn't want to rock the boat. Or he's comfortable, I muttered. The thought hurt more than I expected. Night after night I hid small items. A brooch here, a photograph there. I wrapped them in tissue and slid them into the shoebox. Locking a drawer felt like rebellion. Paying a bill in cash and saving the receipt felt like war. Each tiny act made me feel less powerless. One afternoon, Jenna and I spoke on the phone. I'd called her after an ad in the library. She was gentle, professional, and she asked questions that made my head stop spinning enough to think. When did you first notice the changes? She asked. It started small, I told her. Towels, a different soap, then a schedule taped to the fridge, then the signature on a form behind a cookbook. That sounds exhausting, she said. Are you sleeping? Not well. Start with the list, she advised. Write what you remember each day. It'll help you find patterns, and you won't carry it all in your head. I've started a notebook, I said. It helps. Good. And keep calling me. We'll work through the fear. Talking to Jenna felt like taking off a wet coat. It warmed me a little. It didn't fix things, but it tightened a loose thread. At the gas station, Sam handed me a small stack of schedules and said, If you want, you can pick shifts that won't interfere with anything. Mornings, afternoons. We'll work it out. Thank you, I said, more solid than I felt. I'll try Monday. I'll put you down for 2 mornings, he said. We'll see how it goes. At home, I began photographing evidence. Nora came by again and knelt on the floor with her phone out, methodical and careful. She took pictures of an empty corner where my armchair used to sit, of the calendar in the pantry, of receipts for the new curtains. This will help, she said quietly. Photos, don't forget. Do you think it will matter? I asked. It can, she said. Proof helps. People don't always believe memory. The photographs felt like armor. Each image was a small, stubborn truth. I labeled them and saved them in a folder on my phone and then backed them up to a cloud account I barely remembered setting up years ago. Technology felt useful for once. I paid more attention to the bills. Little sums were missing or credited to vague household expenses that didn't match Lena's new tastes. I found a receipt from a boutique that sold the kind of expensive olive oil she favored, purchased the week after David got his new power of attorney papers. The pattern was there, thin but clear. You should do something now, Ruth said one evening, worry creasing her forehead. Don't wait until you can't. What would I even do? I asked. I don't have a lawyer. I'm on a pension. I'm alone. You're not alone, she said. You have friends. We'll help call people. The risk of being found out followed me like a shadow. Locking the bedroom drawer made me breathe easier for a while. Then I'd hear footsteps and my hands would go cold. Lena never seemed to notice the small rebellions. She'd chat about paint swatches and ask if I preferred linen or cotton bedsheets like it was a game. When I said I didn't care much, she'd smile and mark the answer as victory. You're very calm, she observed once, as if noting an interesting trait in a study. It's admirable. I try to be, I said. You should be proud to let others help. Help, I repeated, tasting the word. The tension tightened when I went through a box of old letters and found one of Henry's notes that had been crumpled and shoved behind a stack of cookbooks. I smoothed it out like a relic and realized how careful I'd been to keep memory intact. My hands shook as I wrapped it in tissue and slid it into the shoebox. That night I lay awake thinking about the receipts, the photos, the schedule taped behind the pantry door. Each small injustice had taken on legal shape. The forgery we'd found was no longer an isolated scare. It connected to purchases, to signatures, to promises David had made without reading. Paper was no longer neutral. It had been sharpened into a tool. I called Jenna late. I'm starting to keep records, I told her. Notes, photos, receipts. That's good, she said. You're creating a factual trail. That will help both your mind and, if needed, legal steps. It feels like spying on my own life, I said, tired. Or like reclaiming it, she corrected gently. Little by little. In the living room, the lamp cast a small pool of light over my notebook. My handwriting looked steadier than I felt. I numbered the pages. I dated each entry. I wrote without flourish, factual sentences, towel swapped. Jam replaced. Signature on form. Receipt for curtains. Missing armchair. Each line was a small act of defiance. A week later, I heard Lena in the kitchen on the phone, her voice bright and conspiratorial. I paused at the doorway, pretending to look for a mug, and listened. She's going to be fine, Lena said, voice soft, confident. We've made it official. The forms are all done. For the house? Another voice asked, muffled. For everything, Lena replied. The financial stuff. The paperwork? It's sorted. Good, the voice said. Smart move. I felt something drop inside me. The shoebox clutched in my stomach. Official, sorted. The words landed like stones. I backed away slowly, the room tilting. My pen hovered over the page. The small rebellions I'd staged felt both vital and fragile. I had receipts and photos and a commitment to work. I had friends and a therapist on call. I had a little job waiting and a shoebox of memories. But what did official mean when whispered like a secret? I sat down at the table and wrote another line in my notebook. Lena said she made it official. Who did she call? What did she file? The next morning, I would have to find out. The kitchen was dark except for the small nightlight by the oven. I could hear my stomach more clearly than anything else, a hollow, impatient sound. Need a snack? She called from the living room, voice too bright for 2 a.m. No, I'll just get some water, I answered, keeping my steps light. Don't make a mess, she said, like a warning and a joke all at once. I opened the refrigerator and reached instinctively for the leftover bread. It felt like reaching for comfort. Hey, she snapped, the light flipping on so fast it made me blink. What are you doing in there? I'm hungry, I said. I thought a piece of bread. You know the rules, she said, blocking the fridge as if guarding treasure. No food outside your hours. It's 2 a.m, I said. I couldn't sleep. I just wanted... You should have asked, she said. It's simple. It's my kitchen, I said, and the words came quieter than I meant. You don't get to use it whenever you want, she said. We live here now. My son and I live here, I corrected, but she didn't look impressed. He lives with me, she said, folding her arms. And I set the rules. David appeared at the top of the stairs, hair sticking up, eyes still heavy with sleep. What's going on? He mumbled, rubbing his face. She was trying to get food, she said, voice smooth. At this hour. You remember what we agreed, right? We have household hours. I remember, he said. We talked about keeping schedules. She should respect that, she insisted. We need order. Order? I laughed without humor. You want order. You make rules. It's for the household, she said. To make things easier. For you, I said. You mean for you. I mean all of us, she replied. Just ask next time, okay? Ask, I repeated, throat tight. Ask to eat in my own home? You can be polite, she said. It's not hard. He stepped closer, looking uncomfortable, like he wanted to smooth a bruise. Mom, it's late. Let's do this tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, she echoed. Sure, for now, go back to bed. I closed the fridge and the cool air brushed my face. The slap of her words felt worse than any hand could have been. I walked up the stairs slowly. The hallway light was soft, and the photos on the wall, Henry's face at 50, David as a boy, watched me pass like witnesses. Are you okay? He asked quietly as I reached my door. No, I said, and the single syllable felt like a stone. Do you want me to stay up? He offered. Talk? No, I don't want to bother you, I said. Go to sleep. He hesitated, then closed my door gently. I sat on the edge of the bed with the lamp off, letting the dark hold me. My hand throbbed where her words had landed, not physically, but inside. I packed silently. A sweater, a few dresses, Henry's watch wrapped in tissue, a small shoebox with letters. I folded each item with a kind of ceremony, careful not to wake the house with my movements. You can't be serious, she would say if she saw the suitcase. You're being dramatic. I wrote a list instead of reheating anger. Receipts, copies of the forms, photos of the calendar in the pantry, the napkin with the name tag. I slipped photos into the notebook I'd been keeping, each one labeled, dated. "Who are you calling?" Ruth asked when she answered the phone on the third ring. Her voice was the same as always, warm, frank. "Ruth," I whispered. "I'm not staying." "Where are you?" she asked, swift and sharp. "Are you with them?" "No, I'm packing." I can't keep asking for permission to breathe." "You sound steady," she said, and I felt steadier for a second. "I'll be there in half an hour," I told her. "I don't want to wake David. I'll leave a note." "Bring the letters," she said, "and the shoebox. Don't forget the paperwork." "I packed them," I said. "Everything that matters." When I left the room, the house smelled of lemon polish and coffee grounds. The living room looked almost festive, cushions arranged, the gray sofa pristine. It seemed absurd that a space could look so cared for and feel so hostile. "Leaving so soon?" she asked from the hallway, voice casual as if asking about the weather. "I'm leaving," I said. "Yes. Where to?" she asked, surprised like a soap opera character. "To Ruth's," I said. "For a while." "For a while?" She laughed. "You can't just go stay with your friend every time you don't like a decision." "It's not about liking a decision," I said. "It's about dignity." "You're being dramatic." "You think this is drama," I said. "You think being pushed into a corner is drama." "Stop being melodramatic," she said sharply. "You're making a scene." "I don't want to make a scene," I said, but my voice trembled. David stood then, looking torn. "Mom, maybe we can talk about this in the morning," he said. "I've talked for months," I said. "I've asked. I've explained. I've been civil." "You're leaving in the night?" he said, disbelief breaking through. "Yes," I said, "I am." "She's being impulsive," she scolded, shaking her head. "You'll regret it." "You're right," I said aloud, to myself more than to them. "I might." "I'll drive you," he blurted sudden. "You don't have to walk." "No, I'll take the bus," I said. "It's fine." "You're doing this now?" she said, incredulous. "Yes, now." She crossed her arms, mouth tight. "You're playing games." "I'm making a choice," I said. "I'm leaving on my terms." "You'll come back," she said, sure as a sentence. "Maybe," I said. "Maybe I won't." I left a note on the kitchen table, neat and factual. I wrote the bills, due dates, the property tax amount, the heating maintenance, specific account names, and where I kept the spare keys. No pleas, no daggers of accusation, just facts laid out like a map. "We sold them the idea of order," Ruth said later, boiling tea as I sat on her sofa with the shoebox in my lap. "You did what you needed to do." "I feel like a thief," I admitted, fingers curled around a letter. "You're not a thief," she said. "You're escaping theft." "What if David hates me?" I asked, and the question felt raw. "He's your son," she said. "He'll be angry, he'll be confused. But this will force him to see what's left when you're not there." "He signed papers," I said. "He may have given them things I can't get back." "He can undo paperwork," she said. "If it's forged, we can fight it. If not, we still have options." The first step was to get you safe. I looked at Henry's handwriting in a folded note and imagined him saying very quietly, "Do what keeps your dignity." The memory felt like a hand on my shoulder. "You did it quietly," Ruth said. "You didn't scream. You didn't beg. You left like you mattered." "I was afraid of crying in front of them," I admitted. "You cried here," she said. "And we'll talk. We'll call Paula. We'll make a plan." "You'll help?" I asked. "Of course." "You're not alone," she said. The house receded behind me as I walked to the bus stop. Streetlights smeared gold across the pavement. I held the small shoebox like a relic that weighed less than the decision I'd made. "I hope you made the right choice," I murmured to no one. "You did," Ruth said, squeezing my hand. The bus smelled faintly of diesel. I sat by the window and watched familiar houses slide past. I thought of the note on the kitchen table and the way the morning would begin without me in it. I thought of the list of bills and how they'd be reading it like a riddle. At Ruth's door, she hugged me with a kind of hunger I hadn't known I needed. "You'll stay as long as you need," she said. "We'll sort everything together." "I don't know what comes next," I whispered. I only know I couldn't stay to be small anymore. "You won't be small," she said. "Not here." I slept for the first time in months without flinching at footsteps. Morning came with birds and the smell of toast, and my phone buzzed with missed calls and a single text from David. "Please call me." I didn't answer immediately. I made tea and wrapped Henry's letters in fresh tissue. I opened the shoebox and laid the papers out on the kitchen table, like a tiny altar. The notebook with my list was beside them. The page where I'd written the bills looked like a declaration. When I finally called back, his voice was frayed. "Mom, where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm safe," I said. "I'm with Ruth. Why did you leave?" he asked. "We can work this out." "We've tried to work it out," I said. "But nothing changed. You let them do things without asking me." "I thought I was helping," he said, voice small and honest. "You thought," I repeated. "You signed without reading." "I know," he said. "I messed up. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix signatures," I said. "But show me you mean it. Get legal advice with me. Don't make assumptions again." "I will," he promised. "I'll come by tomorrow. I'll bring bank statements. Don't promise to fix it to make me come back," I warned gently. "Fix it so it changes you, not just your living situation." "I understand," he said. "I do." The line was quiet for a beat, and then he said, "I miss you. I didn't mean to make you feel small." "You can start by understanding how it felt," I said. "That would be enough for now." He sighed, the sound of someone who's finally awake. "Okay, I'll do that." I hung up with a cautious hope gnawing at me. The notebook lay open, the shoebox beside it, the letters neatly stacked. I had left, yes, but I had not abandoned the house to chaos. I had recorded everything. I had left instructions that would force them to face costs. I had wrapped my memories safe. Outside, the day was bright and ordinary. Inside, the next steps felt huge. Ruth's house smelled like lavender and toast, the kind of smell that wraps around you before you realize you needed it. Her guest room was small but neat, with pale curtains and a quilt that looked hand-stitched. "You'll sleep here," she said, setting my suitcase by the bed. "And you'll eat." No arguing. "I'm not arguing," I said softly. "I just don't want to be a burden." She looked at me like she'd heard the word too many times before. "Estelle, you've been carrying everyone else for years. Let someone carry you now." Her kindness broke something in me. I sat on the bed and stared at the little floral pillow, trying not to cry. Ruth sat beside me. "You did the hard part," she said. "You left, now you rebuild." "I don't even know where to start," I whispered. "You start with coffee," she said, standing. "And after that, we call Priya." The next morning, Priya arrived with a leather tote and the kind of steady energy I didn't realize I needed. She wasn't flashy, just composed. Dark hair pinned up, calm eyes that didn't dart around like they were searching for blame. "Estelle," she said, shaking my hand warmly. "Ruth told me a little, but I'd like to hear it from you." I took a breath. "It's about my house. My son and his wife, they've taken over. I found papers I didn't sign. Legal documents. Power of attorney may be forged." Her expression didn't change. "Do you have copies?" "Yes," I said, pulling out the folder. "I photographed everything. I've been documenting what's happening." She nodded, impressed. "That's very smart. Most people don't think to do that until it's too late." "I'm not sure what any of it means," I admitted. "Can they legally remove me?" Priya spread the papers across the table like puzzle pieces. "If this signature isn't yours, it's fraud. But proving that takes time. You'd need a handwriting comparison, a lawyer, maybe a notary witness. We'll start with one thing. Stop blaming yourself." I should have been more careful. "No," she said firmly. "You should have been treated with respect. That's what's missing here, not your vigilance, but their integrity." Ruth folded her arms. "What can we do now?" Priya took out a pen. "Step 1. File a report of suspected forgery. Step 2. Revoke any power of attorney in writing, even if it's fake. We'll send it by certified mail. Step 3. Secure your financial accounts. Do you have independent access to your bank?" "Yes," I said quickly. "I moved my savings after I left." "Good," she said. "That was smart." Ruth poured her coffee and said, "So, what happens if they try to claim the house?" "They can't evict her without due process," Priya explained. "It's her legal residence. Even if they file something, she'll be notified. That gives us time." "Time for what?" I asked. "To plan your next move." Her tone was even, but it carried weight. That afternoon, Ruth drove me to the local police station. The building was small, more like a converted office than a precinct. Officer Morales met us in the lobby, mid-40s, calm eyes, a voice that could quiet a storm. "You're Estelle?" he asked. "Yes. I read the summary you sent in. It's good that you left when you did." "I wasn't sure it was the right thing," I said. It felt cowardly. "Leaving a dangerous situation isn't cowardice," he said. "It's awareness." "I'm not afraid of her hurting me physically," I said. "She's clever, not violent." "Manipulation can be just as harmful," he said. "You've done the right thing coming here. I can't handle the civil side. That's between lawyers, but I can make sure there's a record. If she tries anything threatening, you call us immediately." Ruth leaned forward. "Can she legally keep Estelle out of her own home?" "Not without a court order," Morales said. "She can say things, make threats, but until the court decides, that house is still yours." I nodded slowly. "That helps. Thank you." He smiled faintly. "Keep documenting. It's the strongest protection you have right now." On the drive home, the air felt lighter, but my mind was still tangled. "He makes it sound simple," I said. "It's not," Ruth replied. "But it's a start." "I don't know if I want to go back," I confessed. "Every part of me wants to fight, but part of me just wants peace." "You don't have to decide that tonight," she said. "You decide when you're ready." I looked out the window. The sunset brushed the rooftops gold, and for a brief second, I felt like I could breathe again. That night, I sat at Ruth's table and opened my notebook. I added new entries, dates, conversations, what Priya said, what Morales advised. My handwriting looked steady for the first time in weeks. For months, I'd lived like a guest in my own life. Now, under Ruth's roof, I began to feel like the author again. 2 weeks later, Priya came by with a thick envelope. "I've drafted the revocation notice," she said. "We'll send it certified. It officially states that any power of attorney supposedly granted to Lena or David is revoked." "Even if I didn't sign anything?" I asked. "Especially if you didn't," she said. "It's a line in the sand. We'll send copies to them, to their supposed lawyer, and to your bank." "Will that make her angry?" I asked quietly. Priya gave a small, understanding smile. "Probably, but anger is temporary. Documentation is permanent." Ruth clapped her hands together softly. "I like her." "I do too," I said. "Good," Priya said, standing. "You've got more strength than you think, Estelle. I'll call in a week with updates." When she left, Ruth looked at me. "You see, this is what rebuilding looks like." "It's strange," I said. "The fear isn't gone, but now it's mixed with something else. Resolve, maybe." "That's called healing," she said. "It's messy." A few days later, I started helping Sam at the gas station. Nothing glamorous. Sorting receipts, stocking shelves, greeting customers. It gave me structure, and Sam, true to his word, didn't pry. "You're good with people," he said one morning. "They talk more when you're here." "I used to work at a florist," I said, smiling faintly. "People tell you their secrets over flowers, too." "Must be the calm voice," he teased. "You've got that grandma who knows everything energy." I laughed, and it surprised me how natural it felt. But one afternoon, as I wiped the counter, my phone buzzed. A new email. The subject line made my stomach twist. "Formal notice of obligation." When I opened it, the words blurred for a second before I steadied my breath. It was a letter from David's lawyer, formal, cold, and full of phrases like failure to fulfill familial duties and return to residence to uphold care agreement. I printed it at Sam's counter. The paper came out warm, almost mocking in my hands. "What's that?" he asked. "Something that looks official," I said. "Maybe another trap." "Bring it to Priya," he said. "Don't let it get to you until she explains it." I nodded. "You're right. It might just be noise." But inside, a small voice whispered, "What if it isn't?" When I showed the letter to Ruth that evening, she read it twice, jaw tightening. "They're trying to scare you," she said. "They want you to think you have no choice." "I don't know if it's a threat or a trick," I said. "It sounds like they're demanding I come back." "You won't go unless you want to," she said firmly. "You're not under their control anymore." "I want to believe that," I said. "But she's clever. She knows how to make guilt sound like law." Ruth picked up the letter again, shaking her head. "Priya will know what to do." "I know," I said. "Then be scared enough to change." After I hung up, I stared at the ceiling. I wanted to run to him, to make tea, to fix the leak, but I also wanted him to feel the cost of choosing someone who used him. I wanted him to reclaim himself, not be saved by me. The days blurred into a rhythm of small news. The neighbor, Mrs. Turner, banged on the shared fence and complained about the smell from an unpaid garden compost. Carlos relayed that David had been sweeping the church parking lot for cash. Ruth drove by and saw the curtains drawn and a stack of unpaid notices by the front door. Each detail tightened the knot in my chest. One afternoon, a local woman I'd seen at the market, Janet, knocked and handed me a folded envelope. "Found this on my doorstep," she said. "Thought you should have it." It was a letter from the county, a warning about property tax arrears and potential liens. The date on it made my stomach flip. It was due in 30 days. "That's bad," Janet said. "I thought you should know." "I know," I said, folding the paper. "Thank you." Janet left with a soft look. I sat with the paper like it was cold. "If he loses the house," Ruth said slowly, "he'll learn what real consequence feels like." "He could lose his future," I said. "And a house is more than walls." "It's a lesson that sticks," Ruth said. "And maybe it's the only way he'll change." A week after Lena left, David finally knocked on Ruth's door. I wasn't expecting it. I was in the kitchen making tea when Ruth called out. "He's here," she said. I dried my hands on a towel and smoothed my face. I opened the door to see him standing there, hair rumpled, jacket too thin for the season, hands empty, but for a small envelope. "Hi, Mom," he said, voice small. "Can I come in?" "You can," I said. He stepped inside like someone who'd been told he had to be quiet. His eyes were red. He looked like the boy who had once been terrified of thunder. "I'm sorry," he said, and the words were simple. "I heard," I said. "You left the note, you called. What do you need?" "Help," he said immediately. I need to know how to keep things running. I need advice. I need you." "You need more than me," I said. "You need to take responsibility." "I know," he said. "And I will. I'll do anything." "Anything?" I asked. "Anything," he said. "Therapy, extra work, selling the car, whatever." "You sound desperate," I said. "I am," he said. "I don't know what else to do." I looked at him. He looked smaller, humbled. A part of me wanted to close the door and let him face the outcome. Another part wanted to pull him inside and nurse him back to health. "Sit," I said finally. "Tell me everything." He sat and told me about the water, about the piles of notices, about the calls from collection agencies. He told me how Lena left on a Tuesday, and the next day, a notice for unpaid utilities arrived. He said how embarrassed he felt to be found sweeping a parking lot for a few dollars. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I don't expect forgiveness." "Then show me you can be trusted," I said. "Actions, not words." "I will," he promised. "I swear I will." I watched him then, watching his face change as he spoke, shame easing into resolve. It felt like watching a slow thaw. "I'll help you make a list," I said. "We'll call Priya, we'll set up a plan, but you have to be the one to do it." "I will," he said. "I'll do it all." I reached out and touched his hand. It was warm and calloused. "I don't want you to fall apart," I said. "I want you to stand up." He nodded. "I'll stand." Outside, the late afternoon sun softened the street. The house where I'd lived felt distant and oddly peaceful in my memory. This was the moment I'd been waiting for, his first real step. But there was still a question I couldn't answer. He stood on the porch and looked smaller than I remembered. "Hi, Mom," he said, voice thin. "Come in," I said. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me," he blurted as he stepped inside. "You waited until you were ready," I said. "That matters." "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I'm so sorry." "I heard," I said. "You don't have to tell me the whole thing right now." "No, I need to. I need you to know." He sat down like he might fall. "Lena, she told me so many things. She told me you were selfish, that you were keeping us back. She said I had to choose. I chose badly. You chose to believe her," I said. "There's a difference." "I know," he said, and his hands trembled. "I believed her because I didn't want to be weak. I thought if I followed her, things would get better." "You didn't read the papers," I said. "You signed things without reading." "I'm an idiot," he said. "I'm so stupid. I'm sorry." "You read it now?" I asked. "No, I'm embarrassed to even open those files. I'm scared I'll see something worse. Then we'll look at them together," I said. "You don't have to do that alone." He looked up like he hadn't expected kindness. "Do you mean that?" "I mean it." I could hear my voice steady in the kitchen. But I need proof you'll change. How do I prove that? He asked, voice cracking. You start by being honest and showing up, I said. Not with words, with actions. I will, he insisted. Anything. Ruth came in from the next room with 2 mugs. Tea? She asked, soft. Yes, please, he said, grateful. Sit, she said to both of us. Talk it out. I'm scared, he said after a sip. I was so sure she loved me. She told me she was protecting our future. I thought I was doing what was right. You were manipulated, I said. That doesn't make you evil. But I hurt you, he said, looking at me like a child begging forgiveness. I left you out when you needed me. You weren't always absent, I said. You were present in small ways, but when it mattered, you let someone else speak for you. I can't undo that, he said. I can only try not to be that man again. You'll have to prove it, I said. And I'll need boundaries. We can set them, Ruth said gently. We can make a safe plan. He leaned forward. I'll do therapy. I'll work 2 jobs if I have to. Therapy, I repeated. That's not a show. You must go and do the work. I will. He sounded desperate to be believed. You'll also have to show steady income, I said. And some contribution. Not to punish you, but to teach responsibility. I get it, he said. Rent, a small amount. I can do that. And you'll accept that decisions about the house remain my right, I said. Until you prove consistent change. That's fair, he said. I want to prove it. We talked late into the morning. He told me how Lena had turned small doubts into absolute truths, how she'd introduced the idea of formal legal papers as protection, how she'd laughed at his confusion and told him not to worry. He kept saying, I'm sorry, like it might smooth everything flat. You think a few apologies will fix this? I asked him at one point. No, he said. I know it won't, but I want to start somewhere. I don't want to be the son who let his mother be treated like that. You were confused, I said. Confusion doesn't excuse harm. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, he said. We'll need help to set the terms, I said. Priya can draft an agreement. Jenna can start therapy sessions. Those are the anchors. Priya? He asked. The lawyer woman Ruth mentioned. Yes, I said. She's been so practical. She'll write a simple agreement. Small rent, mandatory therapy, proof of steady work, monthly check-ins. And Jenna? He asked, hopeful. Jenna is a therapist I called, I said. She'll take you at least for an intake. It won't be a quick fix, David. It's a process. I'll go, he said. I'll start tomorrow. Ruth touched his arm. Be patient with yourself, she said. But don't be lazy about it either. He nodded. I'll go early. I don't want excuses. You also need to accept that I won't be everything you expect, I told him. I love you. That won't change. But I won't be your safety net if you decide to repeat old mistakes. I understand, he said. I don't want you to ever feel that small again. You can't make me small anymore, I said. Neither of us should let anyone treat us like that. He swallowed. So what do we do now? We draft the agreement, I said. We set the rent amount. We pick a therapist. Everything must be in writing. If you fail, there are consequences. I'll sign, he said, voice steady. Not yet, I said. We'll consult Priya first. A week later, Priya sat at my kitchen table with a clean stack of papers. Her calm was surgical. This is designed to be straightforward, she said. It's not about punishment. It's about boundaries and measurable steps. What's the rent? Ruth asked. We chose a modest amount, Priya said. $200 a month. It will be paid into a savings account in David's name. This isn't to profit you. It's to build his independence. He agreed to this? Ruth asked. He did, I said. Therapy attendance? Priya continued. Weekly for 3 months, then reassess. Proof of employment or income on a monthly basis. He must participate in financial counseling. He must also agree not to bring anyone into the house without permission, I added. No partners moving in. No unilateral decisions. That will be part of it, Priya said. We'll include a clause about consulting you for major financial decisions. What if he relapses? David asked, looking frightened. Then the agreement allows for consequences, Priya said. Temporary exclusion until conditions are met. It's a test of responsibility. I accept those terms, he said quickly. You understand this isn't a magic cure? I asked. I do, he said. But it's a start. I want honesty in all things, I said. No more secrets. No more secrets, he said. We went over every clause. He read, he asked questions, he hesitated at formal language, then nodded. His handwriting looked small when he signed. The pen shook in his hand. "Hold on," I said gently. "Breathe," he did. The signature was not the end. It was the beginning of an agreement we both feared and needed. "You sure?" I asked. "Yes," he whispered. He signed. The pen clicked. I watched the ink dry and felt my chest loosen and tighten at once. "This won't fix months of silence," I said afterward, soft. "It won't erase what happened, but it makes expectations clear. It feels like a contract with reality," he said, managing a weak laugh. "Reality's a good teacher," I said. We scheduled Jenna's intake for the following week. He left with a copy of the agreement folded in his pocket, hands oddly steady. After he walked away, I sat at the table with the paper between us and felt both relief and caution. Relief that he took a first step. Caution because a signature on paper is different from changed habits. A pen can seal promises, but actions must follow. I picked up the phone and called Jenna to confirm the appointment. The voice on the other end was kind and businesslike. "Intake next Wednesday at 10, she said. "We'll explore the manipulation he experienced and set goals." "Thank you," I said. "You're doing the right thing," she replied. "Keep boundaries firm." I closed my eyes for a moment and pictured the house. The chair returned to its place, the radio playing when I wanted, the photographs back on the wall. I let myself imagine small peace, but I also remembered the list in my notebook. Towels replaced, signatures forged, schedules taped. Memory kept me wary. When he left, David called once that evening. "I'm starting my first shift tomorrow," he said. "I'm nervous, but it feels good." "That's progress," I said. "Keep steady." "I will," he promised. "I won't let you down again." We hung up. The agreement sat on the table like a fragile bridge. I had hope, but I also had the knowledge of how slowly trust can mend. I had learned to measure promises against time. "You fixed the porch," Ruth said when I walked in, grinning like a proud aunt. "He did," I answered, and my voice caught a little. "He sanded it himself, stained every plank." "He looks different," she observed. "Cleaner, calmer." "He looks tired," I said, "but steadier. That's something." "He brought back the armchair," David said from the doorway, handing the cushion over as if it were an offering. "Found it in storage. Thought it might fit better here." "Thank you," I said, taking the cushion. "It smells like the old house." "It took him a day to get the stain right," Ruth added. "He kept checking like a man building something he couldn't break." "He's been going to Jenna," he said, voice low. 3 sessions so far. It's working." "It takes time," I said. "Therapy isn't a quick fix." "I know," he said. "But I'm showing up. I'm paying the rent on time. I even opened a savings account like you suggested." He looked embarrassed and proud at once. "That's good," I said. "Very good. You should come by the house sometime," he offered. "We can have lunch. I made stew the other day. Thought of you." "I'd like that," I said, and it felt true. "You're doing shifts at Sam's now?" Ruth asked. "Yes," I answered. "Morning shifts. It keeps me moving. Sam's nice, won't take pity, but he listens." "You look brighter," Ruth said. A proper smile. "I sleep better," I confessed. Less startle at footsteps. "We planted flowers in the front yard today," David said, eyes soft. "Thought it might bring the place back to life." "We'll make a proper Sunday dinner this week," Ruth chimed in. "Invite him over, let them see a warm table." "That would be nice," I said. "But let's not rush it." "I understand," David answered. "Boundaries first. I get that." "Good," I said. "Boundaries are not punishment. They're safety." "You were brave," Ruth said. "Leaving wasn't easy. Coming back like this is harder." "I didn't come back yet," I reminded them. "I chose to rebuild around me first." "That's wise," David agreed. "And honest." "You've kept your appointments?" I asked. "I go every Tuesday," he said. Jenna's been direct. She helped me see how she picked my insecurities and made them hers. "She manipulated you," I said. "That doesn't make you weak. It makes it harder to notice when love and control are dressed the same." "I'm learning the difference," he said. "I'm learning how to say no to someone who sounds kind but is taking." "That's the hardest part," I admitted. "Learning to keep your own voice." "We fixed the picture frames," he said, nodding toward the hallway. "Put your photos back where they were." "They look right," I said, moving to the wall as if to make sure. The photograph of Henry at the coast, his grin, felt honest in its place. My hand smoothed the frame. "You've been to Jenna too," he said quietly. "I have," I replied. "She's helped me unpack shame. She's asked me who I am when I stop apologizing for existing." "And?" he asked. "And I'm not the same woman who let small cruelties become a life," I said. "I still have scars, but I have rules now." "Like what?" he asked, genuinely curious. "No overnight guests without notice," I said. "No moving things without asking. And you tell me about major bills before they happen." He nodded, Ruth said. "Like the man he's striving to be." "I'll live by those rules," he said. "I promise." "You promised before," I said softly. "I know," he said, and the truth in his eyes stopped me from cutting him off. "That's why I'm letting the agreement do the talking. I don't want to let you down again." "We put the agreement in place because words can warm up quickly," I said. "Paper lasts longer." "I signed it," he said. "I did it because I meant it." "You can't rush trust," I said. "You build it, slowly, every day." "We will build it," he said, a small stubbornness coming through. "One choice at a time." "You'll keep evidence of your hours and payments," I said. "You'll show Jenna's notes if needed, transparency." "I will," he promised. "I'll even let Priya check the account if it helps." "That's proof of accountability," I said. "That matters." "You're doing all this without the fear of losing yourself," Ruth said. "That's the miracle." "It's not a miracle," I replied. "It's work." "You've changed too," David said, looking at me with a gratitude that tasted like relief. "You're stronger." "I had to be," I answered. "I had to choose myself." "You taught me how to go back to the house the right way," he said. "Not to take over, but to care." "That was the point," I said. "That night I made soup," he said, smiling at the memory. "I used the old recipe. I thought of Dad." "He would be glad," I said, touching the corner of my mouth the way Henry used to when he tasted something good. "You seem more peaceful," he observed. "Less anxious about things." "I still check the door," I admitted. "But I breathe more easily." "You should," he said. "You earned it." "You earned it too," I replied. "By choosing to do the hard thing." "You think you'll come back to the house full time?" he asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Maybe. I want my home to be a refuge, not a battlefield. If we can keep promises, yes. If not, I'll find peace elsewhere." "That's fair," he said. "We'll keep earning it." "We hosted Sunday dinner last week," Ruth said. "It felt good. Quiet, honest." We laughed. "I contributed," David said modestly. I cleared the table. "Small things matter," I said. "They build the larger picture." "You've been working at Sam's for how long?" David asked. 3 months, I said. "And you like it?" He pressed. "It gives me routine," I said. "Cash in the pocket and people who ask about my day. It's good." "You seem happier," he repeated. "That makes me happy." "I'm not the same," I said. "I won't pretend that everything is healed. But I am steadier." "We'll keep checking in," he said. "Weekly calls, monthly meetings with Priya." "Agreed," I said. "Also, I bought a small toolbox," he added. "Fix the fence. I'm learning to keep things in order." "I noticed," I said, smiling. "Your hands look less tired now." "They're earning rest," he answered. "The truth is," I said quietly, looking at the photos on the wall, "I had to reclaim my kitchen, my radio, my small rituals. I had to take back the right to make coffee whenever I wanted." "You do it," he said softly. "I'll never tell you otherwise." "That matters," I said. "We'll try to be careful," Ruth said, standing. "We'll guard this peace like a garden." "We will," David said. "I'll help." "And I'll keep my pen," I said, half joking, "to sign off on any big changes." "You're funny," he said and smiled. "I learned a new thing," I said. "You can be kind and still protect yourself." "That's the lesson," Ruth said. The house felt like a place people were gradually learning to live in, not occupy. The radio played softly when I wanted it. The chair sat in sunlight at noon. We hosted a small dinner, and David cleared plates without being told. He brought offerings of care rather than commands. I still went to Jenna for my sessions. She helped me name my boundaries and notice where I softened too quickly. She asked me to practice saying no in the mirror and to write down what I would accept from others. I learned to feel the difference between guilt and responsibility. At night, I'd sit and listen to the house breathe. I wrote in my notebook sometimes, notes about progress and reminders to myself. Keep the lists, check the accounts, preserve the memories. There was no triumphant finish, no dramatic reveal, just work, steady, often unseen, like gardening in winter. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. I felt stronger, not whole in the old way, but whole. A quieter, firmer person who could make soup, sign a page, and refuse to be small. If my story touched something in you, if you've ever fought to reclaim your peace, your dignity, or simply your sense of self, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your words matter more than you know, and if you believe in stories that heal, stories that remind us we can rebuild even from quiet ruins, please subscribe. There are more journeys of courage and recovery ahead, and maybe the next one will be yours.